Understanding MiniMax's M1, efficiency claims and operational insights. Chinese AI startup MiniMax has thrown down the gauntlet to established AI giants, releasing what it boldly claims is the world's first open-source, large-scale hybrid attention reasoning model that could fundamentally change the economics of advanced AI development. However, industry analysts urge caution. MiniMax's debut reasoning model, M1, has generated justified excitement with its claim of reducing computational demands by up to 70% compared to peers like DeepSeek, R1, said Sanchit Gogia, chief analyst and CEO at Greyhound Research. However, amid growing scrutiny of AI benchmarking practices, enterprises must independently replicate such claims across practical workloads. Gogia sees this as particularly significant for mid-market companies. MiniMax's M1 represents more than just architectural efficiency. It symbolizes the new accessibility of advanced reasoning AI for mid-market enterprises, he noted. With open-source licensing, reduced inference costs, and support for 1M token context windows, M1 aligns squarely with the evolving needs of mid-size firms that seek capability parity with larger players but lack hyperscaler budgets. Despite technical achievements, Gogia notes that Chinese LLMs remain underadopted in North America and Western Europe due to concerns around governance and regulatory compliance in industries with strict procurement frameworks. However, as Gogia cautioned, the real test will lie in how quickly CIOs can extract operational savings at scale without compromising accuracy or governance. As quoted in computerworld.com, in an article authored by Gyana Swain published on June 18, 2025, beyond the media quote, our view in full. Press for time? You can focus solely on the Greyhound flashpoints that follow. Each one distills the full analysis into a sharp, executive-ready takeaway, combining our official standpoint, validated through Pulse data from ongoing CXO trackers, and grounded in field notes from real-world advisory engagements. MiniMax's M1 efficiency claim is technically sound, but operational validation is crucial. Greyhound Flashpoint. MiniMax's debut reasoning model, M1, has generated justified excitement with its claim of reducing computational demands by up to 70% compared to peers like DeepSeek, R1. This claim is backed by FLOPS analysis under 100K token scenarios, where M1 reportedly consumes just 25% of the compute required by DeepSeek, R1. Per Greyhound CIO Pulse 2025, 61% of enterprise technology leaders cite cost efficiency as the dominant evaluation criterion for AI adoption in the next fiscal year. M1's hybrid MO structure, reinforced by lightning attention and reinforcement trained routing, positions it as a standout performer on long-context reasoning with materially lower cost. However, amid growing scrutiny of AI benchmarking practices, enterprises must independently replicate such claims across practical workloads. The claim is not hollow, but it's only as credible as its reproducibility across varied enterprise contexts. Greyhound standpoint. According to Greyhound Research, MiniMax's M1 is a legitimate architectural advancement in efficient long-context reasoning. Its hybrid mixture of experts design, selectively activating model shards based on token complexity, reflects an evolved understanding of AI inference bottlenecks. This shift away from brute-force monolithic architectures is timely, especially as CIOs across sectors are grappling with GPU scarcity, inflated cloud costs, and unpredictable token metering. However, the 70% efficiency gain, while technically valid in high-token scenarios, can be misleading without caveats. M1's performance advantages are workload-specific, context-length sensitive, and contingent on optimized deployment infrastructure. Moreover, models optimized for theoretical compute efficiency often require meaningful engineering overhead, rewriting runtimes, restructuring attention layers, and adapting orchestration stacks. Greyhound believes M1 represents a material evolution in architecture, but one that requires rigorous enterprise validation, not just trust in benchmark disclosures. The real test will lie in how quickly CIOs can extract operational savings at scale without compromising accuracy or governance. Greyhound Pulse. Greyhound CIO Pulse 2025 reveals that 58% of enterprise buyers now rank efficiency and operational cost management as more important than model accuracy, particularly in reasoning use cases like document understanding, legal clause extraction, and multilingual summarization. Our data also shows that nearly 1 in 2 enterprises experienced a 3x to 10x increase in infrastructure spend after shifting from traditional ML workloads to GenAI-enabled reasoning tasks. Against this backdrop, MiniMax's claim of training M1 for under $550,000 versus $5 to $6 million for DeepSeek R1 is not just notable. It's a call to reevaluate LLM ROI frameworks. However, only 29% of enterprise tech leaders globally accept vendor-reported performance benchmarks without conducting their own multi-scenario pilots. CIOs increasingly rely on FLOPS per token and latency per dollar benchmarks, not parameter counts or leaderboard rankings, to judge model suitability. The shift in evaluation metrics reflects a broader evolution in AI thinking. Gen AI ROI is no longer about just delivering capabilities. It's about doing so sustainably and predictably under real-world constraints. Greyhound Field Note: if a technology leader in a Southeast Asian e-commerce firm were to pilot M1 for long-context product metadata summarization, they could reasonably expect strong efficiency gains, potentially reducing inference runtimes by over 50% versus traditional reasoning models like DeepSeek R1. However, CIOs should anticipate friction in deployment. The model's hybrid mode structure may require custom handlers to interface with existing inference engines, especially those built around TensorRT or Hugging Face transformers. Documentation gaps could delay tuning efforts, and integration with orchestration layers might require reverse engineering. Enterprises planning such a deployment should budget for optimization effort and team upskilling. While the theoretical cost reductions are real, they are unlikely to be realized without a deliberate engineering investment to align M1's architecture with existing GPU pipelines and latency constraints. Open reasoning models like M1 are becoming strategic enablers for mid-market AI adoption. Greyhound Flashpoint: MiniMax's M1 represents more than just architectural efficiency. It symbolizes the new accessibility of advanced reasoning AI for mid-market enterprises. With open-source licensing, reduced inference costs, and support for 1M token context windows, M1 aligns squarely with the evolving needs of mid-size firms that seek capability parity with larger players but lack hyperscaler budgets. Per Greyhound CIO Pulse 2025, 72% of mid-market CIOs identify open-source reasoning models as the most viable pathway to AI-enabled transformation over the next 24 months. Unlike proprietary APIs, open models like M1 allow these firms to fine-tune on local data, control for compliance, and deploy in on-prem or hybrid scenarios. In short, M1 doesn't just lower the barrier to entry, it shifts the power dynamic in favor of agile, resource-conscious innovators. Greyhound Standpoint: according to Greyhound Research, the rising adoption of open-weight reasoning models like M1 is not simply a tactical workaround for budget constraints. It is a strategic response to multidimensional AI risk. Mid-market CIOs increasingly reject one-size-fits-all AI services in favor of modular models they can own, inspect, tune, and govern. Models like M1, with their low resource footprint and flexible training loops, open the door to domain-specific deployments, from insurance claims processing to invoice intelligence to asset maintenance automation. Yet this empowerment carries a caveat. Open-source tooling often lacks the integration fidelity, lifecycle management, and observability required for enterprise-grade reliability. Greyhound advises mid-size firms to treat open reasoning models as programmable infrastructure, not products. This means embedding them within DevSecOps pipelines, aligning with AI governance stacks, and investing in internal competency for model safety, bias testing, and lifecycle control. M1 is not merely a budget-friendly LLM. It is a composable reasoning layer that can, if governed well, elevate mid-market firms into AI-native maturity. Greyhound Pulse: Greyhound Mid-Market Tech Pulse 2025 shows that 68% of mid-sized enterprises piloting open-source AI models cite transparency, deployment control, and lower TCO as key motivations. Among these, only 27% proceeded to production without external vendor mediation, underscoring the support gap. Many firms start with enthusiasm, but stall due to a lack of containerization templates, unclear patch management, and inconsistent pre/post-processing guidelines. Vendors like MiniMax have an opportunity here. M1's performance profile is strong, but widespread mid-market adoption will depend on accompanying documentation, infrastructure recipes, and observability support. Notably, 51% of CIOs in our survey flagged absence of long-term vendor roadmap and release cadence as a barrier to committing to open models at scale. The appetite is real, but so is the operational caution. Greyhound Field Note: in a hypothetical deployment at a European mid-market logistics firm, M1 could be used to generate order volume forecasts from warehouse telemetry and supply chain data. CIOs pursuing such use cases should expect M1 to deliver quick wins on latency and cost. However, without enterprise-grade lifecycle tooling, teams may struggle with model rollback, regression management, and fine-tuning traceability. The absence of MLOps wrappers or containerized deployment recipes could slow adoption or expose risks in production workflows. Organizations without in-house model governance capabilities may need to co-develop observability frameworks to compensate. As such, Greyhound advises that mid-market firms treat open models like M1 as infrastructure components, not standalone products, requiring the same operational rigor as any other mission-critical system. Chinese open LLMs like M1 match Western technical standards, but face global trust barriers. Greyhound Flashpoint. Models like MiniMax's M1, DeepSeek R1, and E34B have closed the performance gap with Western leaders on key reasoning benchmarks, from GSM-8K to human eval. Per Greyhound AI Pulse 2025, 42% of CIOs across APAC now consider Chinese open models technically on par with models like Claude, Gemini, or Llama. M1's high multilingual performance and architectural elegance challenge long-held assumptions about Western dominance in open AI innovation. Yet despite technical parity, Chinese LLMs remain underadopted in North America and Western Europe. Concerns persist around provenance, governance, contributor opacity, and alignment with domestic censorship rules. In regulated industries, these concerns are not theoretical. They're embedded in board-level procurement frameworks. The result is a bifurcated market. Chinese LLMs are winning on capability, but losing on trust. Greyhound standpoint. According to Greyhound Research, Chinese open LLMs are entering a period of reputational divergence. They're seen as highly capable by engineering teams, but flagged as non-compliant or geopolitically risky by legal and risk functions. MiniMax's M1 is a strong example. It boasts competitive benchmark performance, efficient training costs, and open weight availability. But the absence of thorough documentation, transparent contributor identities, and SLAs aligned with Western procurement standards limits its enterprise penetration. Greyhound has observed that even where M1 makes it to the pilot stage, it is often restricted to isolated sandboxes or non-customer-facing workloads. Until vendors like MiniMax institute model card transparency, regulatory compliance disclosures, and support escalation pathways, their enterprise adoption in the West will be throttled not by quality, but by credibility. Greyhound Pulse. Per Greyhound AI Pulse 2025, while 61% of enterprises globally are open to using open LLMs, only 27% of North American CIOs express trust in Chinese origin models. Common red flags include opaque data curation, unclear model alignment mechanisms, and limited legal redress across jurisdictions. These issues are especially acute in finance, healthcare, and defense sectors where AI deployment is tightly bound to provenance audits and supply chain risk assessments. In contrast, Chinese LLMs are finding success in the Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia, often aided by favorable pricing, sovereign deployment flexibility, and multilingual performance in regional dialects. Trust is now the primary currency in global AI adoption, and Chinese LLMs must invest in transparency and accountability to compete. Greyhound Field Note. Should a telecom operator in the Gulf region consider deploying M1 to support a multilingual chatbot, say, in Arabic, Urdu, and Mandarin, early functional gains may be substantial. The model's multilingual training profile positions it well for regional nuance and low latency support. However, CIOs and legal teams should be prepared for alignment inconsistencies. Prompts on politically sensitive topics may trigger evasive responses or silent failures, suggesting the presence of hard-coded filters or alignment tuning inherited from training practices. Meanwhile, if a European fintech firm were to consider M1 for a KYC documentation assistant, auditability concerns may surface. Without clear contributor metadata, version lineage, and GDPR-aligned data handling assurances, internal compliance functions may block the move to production. In both scenarios, the model's technical merit may be insufficient to override gaps in transparency and legal defensibility. Greyhound advises enterprises to approach Chinese open LLMs like M1 with a two-track evaluation, one for capability, one for governance maturity. Analyst in focus, Sanchit Gogia. Sanchit Gogia, or SVG as he is popularly known, is a globally recognized technology analyst, innovation strategist, digital consultant, and board advisor. SVG is the chief analyst, founder, and CEO of Greyhound Research, a global, award-winning technology research, advisory, consulting, and education firm. Greyhound Research works closely with global organizations, their CXOs, and the board of directors on technology and digital transformation decisions. SVG is also the founder and CEO of the House of Greyhound, an eclectic venture focusing on interdisciplinary innovation. Copyright policy. All content contained on the Greyhound Research website is protected by copyright law and may not be reproduced, distributed, transmitted, displayed, published, or broadcast without the prior written permission of Greyhound Research or, in the case of third-party materials, the prior written consent of the copyright owner of that content. You may not alter, delete, obscure, or conceal any trademark, copyright, or other notice appearing in any Greyhound Research content. We request our readers not to copy Greyhound Research content and not republish or redistribute them, in whole or partially, via emails or republishing them in any media, including websites, newsletters, or intranets. We understand that you may want to share this content with others, so we've added tools under each content piece that allow you to share the content. If you have any questions, please get in touch with our community relations team at connect@thoffer.com.